Hello and welcome to another Pocket Page process video. Today I'm going to be scrapbooking the Project Life spread for the weeks of, I guess, spanning late February and into early March. About a week and a half, I think, is in here. So I left in the footage where I'm trimming down my photos. I left this in so that I could talk to you guys about how I print my photos because I do get a lot of questions. So every once in a while I like to leave this part in so that current viewers can kind of hear this. You may have heard it before if you've been around here for a while, so you can feel free to fast forward. Basically, I print my photos up at several different standardized sizes. So my sizes are 4x6, which fit in a 4x6 pocket, and 3x4. So anything that is horizontal and a good enough photo or important enough in story-wise, I will print it at 4x6. And anything that is a vertical photo that is significant enough or a nice enough photo that I want to showcase it will get printed at 3x4. So those are no-brainers. But then the rest of them are a little bit trickier. So my other size that I often print at is 2x3, which is the size that I print for a horizontal photo so that it will fit easily and nicely on a 3x4 card and still give me some space for some journaling or titling or something like that, or caption. Then anything that is square, like this photo, which is printed up from Twitter, Instagram, I don't know where. If it's square, I will print it usually at 2.5 by 2.5 and sometimes at 1.5 by 1.5, particularly if the quality of the photo is pretty low or if it's a pretty small story. Now, sometimes I will print photos in different sizes, and that happened in this one. So for example, this avocado one that you see there, the picture of the microwave, that I printed at 4x6, but I also printed it at 2x3 because it kind of depends on how much room I have. I might scrap that as a big one, or I might scrap it as a small one. So whenever I'm not sure, I'll often err on the side of just printing twice. I print from my Epson PictureMate 400, which is a small printer. It's called a Personal Photo Lab, and it prints really beautiful photos right at home, and it's a small printer. It's very portable. And I trim them up using my Fiskars small guillotine trimmer. It's available, lots of different companies make that similar trimmer, and the one that I have is from Close to My Heart. They sent it to me, so thank you to them for that. As you can see, I have the dimensions there. The one that I didn't mention is the 1.8 by 3.8. That's how big I print my screen captures. I get a lot of questions about how do you print them at those sizes? Well, for me, I don't have to make little diptychs or anything. I just print them that way through my Photos application on my computer. So all of my photos that I take with my phone automatically are stored on the cloud. And then when I turn on my computer, they're right there. And when I print from Photos, which is the app, it used to be called iPhoto and now it's called Photos, I just pick custom, and then I just pick those sizes that I mentioned. Make sure that it's set to inches, especially if you live in Canada, because it might be set to centimeters. Or if you're anywhere other than the US, it might be set to centimeters. So just make sure that you change that. All right, so moving on. I have these templates. These templates are just printed. I just used a ruler and a marker to do the layout of a Becky Higgins Design A spread, and they're just on regular craft cardstock. It's like a craft cardstock from an old stack that I had years and years and years ago. It's an more orangey color than what I typically use, so I sacrificed them to use for this. So I'm familiarizing myself with the kits that I have on hand. I do have kits to scrap with this time, so I am excited to dig into them. I have the Ali Edwards Stories by the Month kit for February and for January picked out there. And I think that's all I have. And I have some leftovers these are my leftovers. I designed some of these cards, and some of them are just cards that I am using from before. So that's where my supplies come from. Now I have, in addition to the photos that you saw me cutting and printing, not printing, but cutting, I have some ephemera to use as well. I have a napkin from a Christmas party that we had in February, late February, and also some Valentines and a few other things. So my first step is always the same. I start by taking a look at my photos, and I'm going to lay them out on my page and decide where they're all going to go. And when I'm putting multiple photos on the same pocket, that's because I plan to use a flip the flap, or a flippity flap as I sometimes call them. They're called photo flips, and the ones that I use are by Snap, but I hear that Close to My Heart has them as well, or at least they used to have them. Plenty of people tell me that they have them in their stash from a long time ago, so make sure you dig them out if you haven't been using them, because they're really useful. So I have some Twitter captures there and print ups, so I'm going to be including a couple of cards about the war in Ukraine and a few other things. I'll kind of tell you what some of these things are as I go, but first what I need to do is find a card to put in the background of all of these pockets. So this one needs a couple of cards because I've got this photo of the military lady and then some other photos behind it. I pulled out the photo flip, the flippity flap as I call them, and just to remind myself that I'm going to plan to use that there. I grabbed a grid card. So this is just my stash of cards. These aren't the cards that were in the kits, but just I grabbed, I think this is my Allie Edwards category of 4x6 cards. I keep my Project Life cards, or pocket cards, whatever you want to call them, in a Razcog. And I think it's about time that I made a video about how I store my Project Life supplies, so, and how I have them all sorted. So I will make that video fairly soon if you're interested in seeing where all these cards come from, because sometimes I'll just pull out a bunch of cards and it might be hard to know where they come from. These are my 3x4 Allie Edwards cards. And so you can see actually that tabbed divider behind them. I pull out the divider and all the cards. So these are all cards from previous Allie Edwards, mostly Stories by the Month kits from probably like 2021, 2019. I don't think I subscribed over 2020. And so I'm just going through and picking out anything that will fit either from a storytelling perspective, so if it has the phrases or imaging that supports my stories, I will pick it out, or if it has a color scheme that I think is going to work with the photos that I have and the other cards that are already on the page. So now that I have the general layout, I'm going to push it all up a little bit, so you won't be able to see all of it, but I try to remember to pull it down as I go. So I'm starting up in the top corner with this 4x6 card that's going to feature this really, it's quite festive, this napkin. I was careful when I grabbed my napkin. I took 2 of them and I stealthily creeped out to the porch and put my extra napkin in my coat pocket. They know that I'm weird like that, and I will often steal paper products from gatherings to include in my Project Life. Paper plates, napkins, little like extra little programs when you go to a play or whatever. I always get one to look at and one to bring home for Project Life. You guys know the drill. You're probably the same. So I'm looking for something that's going to basically give me a bit of pop here, because this card is pretty busy with that red and white background going on. So I want to use this February stamp that came in the Allie Edwards Stories by the Month kit, and I want to say Christmas in February, and I think that that's a good way to say February. I need to also find letters for spelling out Christmas and in. At first I thought I might use this stamp set. It's the mini stepping stone from Studio Calico. But then I thought, no, I think I want to use letter stickers instead. And I'd like to have some red letter stickers, but I don't have any. I have some in pink, but I don't have any right here in red. These are my, then I thought maybe I could even cut out the word Christmas from my offcuts there. But what I'm going to do instead is just grab these sticky keys. These were easy for me to find because they are in my like regular letter sticker stash, which is in a separate Razcog, and I knew that I had them, so I just went over and grabbed them. Instead of bringing all of my stickers over, I knew I was going to want these. So I'm spelling out the word Christmas across the top of this label sticker. This label, by the way, is a Martha Stewart label. It's really beautiful. It's on like a beautiful linen paper, so it's got a bit of texture to it. It's really, really nice. It's going to make stamping a little bit challenging, but I do like the look of it. I'm looking for something to put in for the word in, and I can't find anything, so I'm going to use these gray tile letter stickers, which are just a little bit too tall, but if I trim them down a little bit on the bottom and a little bit on the top, then the word in fits just perfectly there. Now I'm going to pull out my Misty stamping tool because I suspect, because of the texture of this label, that I'm going to have to stamp this a couple of times. So I just positioned it. I'm going to season the stamp because it is brand new with just my white eraser, and I just go very, very easy on that. I don't want to be rubbing it so hard that I'm creating little bits of eraser, just hard enough to remove the manufacturer's like coating that's on the stamp. So as you can see, I have to stamp actually several times here to get a nice, vivid, dark February. And this is a pretty festive looking card. The background is quite distracting, but I quite like how it looks anyways. Now I am going to put this in a flippity flap. This is the larger one. It is the 4x6, and these flip sideways instead of flipping up and down like the 3x4s do. But by including the flip the flap, it allows me to have room on the back side of this for some journaling, and then room on the facing side for these two photos. I really liked these two little bordery looking things from the napkin, so I just cut those out and I'll use them as little decorative strips. I feel like these photos are blending in too much with that white background on the lined paper. That's one of my own cards that I designed myself. It's not my favorite design. It's an easy design. So I wanted to matte it, and I'm matting it in gray here. I thought that black would just be too bold. Gray just gives the photos a bit of breathing space without being too bold. I'm going to layer that horizontal photo under the square photo. I could have gone either way, but it's not covering anything important there. I really like that photo of how Liv is looking at Papa there, so I really wanted. I had several to choose from. I took a picture of every single person sitting with Santa, and the capture of that moment of the two of them looking at each other, I really liked that. So that was I wanted one group photo and then one individual sitting on Santa's knee photo. So that's what I went with. Now I need another card that will have mostly journaling. So I'm just looking through what I have here, and I thought, oh, this one, whatever that phrase was, it didn't apply. But if I cover up the phrase with that piece of napkin, then it doesn't matter what that said because you can't read it anymore. I'm going to use my hot off the press journaling template here to draw some lines because I find it hard to journal in a straight way on a card, especially this size. If it was a smaller amount of space, I might be able to do it, but my journaling would get all wonky over to one side or crowded or whatever. So I like taking the time to just add these pencil lines ahead of time. I do it in pencil, and then I don't really have to erase, because what I'll do is I'll just go back over the journaling with lining it with the marker afterwards. My journaling here says, because the Omicron variant of COVID-19 was rampant at Christmas time, we, like many families, did not gather for festivities. Instead, we FaceTimed, called, and got together with only Jen and Adam, who were in our bubble. So now that Omicron is subsiding a bit, we are able to finally celebrate Christmas with the larger family. Still only the immediate 10, but it was amazing to go to Pictou County for dinner and gift exchange. It really was quite quite nice to see people face to face after being apart for a while, as you guys probably experienced as well. So there we go with the journaling, and this journaling was written with what looks like did I use my Tombow Mono Twin? It looks like I used my Tombow Mono Twin, which is, no. I don't know what marker that is. I often use my Sharpie pen, not my Sharpie marker, but my Sharpie pen. I decided to do the roller date stamp in red just to make it be a little bit more festive. So there, that's nice. That's a Faber-Castell Pitt pen that I'm using. I recognize it now, and it is probably either the Superfine or the Fine. Now for this one, this February card came from my stash, I think. I don't think it came from a current kit. It's from an older kit. And I'm just looking through these pip stickers. They're new to me. I just ordered them. I fell in love with them, and I can't remember where I saw them. I think on social media I saw an ad or somebody was posting about them, and I just thought they'd be perfect for some Project Life spreads. So I ordered a whole bunch. But I ended up using chipboard and an I love you tons. And that was a photo of Scott shoveling snow in the driveway. So now here's a picture of a loaf of bread that I baked. And I'm just going to put some label stickers here. They say good things happen here, and then the other green one is just plain. And that just adds a bit of decoration to this card. That's one of my own designs. It's just a pattern. And now I'm going to trim down this photo of Rocky at the vet. I usually leave a little bit of a white border on them, and then I can always trim it down if I want to. And that's what I'm doing here. I'm trimming it down so that you can see some of that patterned card around it. I'm gluing it down to the bottom and adding some lines here. It says little details capturing life right now, and I'm just doing journaling. It says Rocky had a fever and was lethargic, but he was okay. And then an ellipse, and then it says fever of unknown origin, and I just put quotation marks around that because that is what the vet called it. It's basically a word for we don't know what's wrong with him, but he'll probably be okay. Not a bad outcome. So I think I'm using Coastal Cabana ink here. This is from Stampin' Up. And I accidentally stamped FOO instead of FUO. So I'm just taking my tape runner and putting a dab of it across the top of the O so that the first O looks like a U. So that now says FUO, which is what it's supposed to say. F is for fever, UO is unknown origin. Now I just added another one of those little red phrase stickers, and this one says moments. Moving on to the next card, I'm going to glue the photo down so that a semicircle is showing there, and I'm going to add some lines using my hot off the press template. And I'm writing out fridge stocked with Sophie's faves to keep her hydrated. My daughter was sick with something that was affecting her liver that we came to know the next week was mono. We were assuming and hoping that it was mono because she was quite sick, and it was not a typical presentation, so we were worried about her for a while there. Now here I have a card that I was going to have my seat selection screen capture and write about like the hard times of good times that we were kind of selecting our seats for our trip that was supposed to happen. And then the hard times is that the trip had to be canceled because Sophie was sick with something wrong with her liver, and the doctor said you shouldn't travel with her being this sick. And we were obviously we weren't going to travel anyways, but anyhow, the trip had to be canceled. after, you know, like the week before you can select your seats. And so we were so happy. Yay, the trip. We actually were not allowing ourselves to get excited about the trip because of, you know, COVID and restrictions, and we weren't really sure if it was happening. So it was like the week before and we were like, okay, I guess we can get excited. It looks like it's going to happen. And then it ended up that it did get canceled after all. So I stamped from that stamp set, which is a Kelly Perky travel stamp set. I stamped the little plain icon going up and then the same plain icon going down. And it's symbolic of our hopes going up and then our hopes going down. But really, we were not too upset about travel. We had cancellation insurance. We'll be fine. We've already rescheduled it. It's going to be in another week or so. So actually, 2.5 weeks from now is when we're going to travel. So I'm narrating this at quite a delay. So I actually scrapbooked this about a week and a half ago, and I'm just narrating it now. So the journaling here says, as our date of departure nears, reality is setting in. We actually will be going to Cuba. Omicron did not stop us. We booked our seats and everything! Exclamation point. And now on this side of the card that says hard things, this is an Allie Edwards card, by the way. It says, as Sophie's illness worsened and liver functioning decreased, we realized we actually better not leave Canada next week after all. Mono stopped us. So I'm going to underline that. This again, oh right, the reason I'm journaling with this Faber-Castell Superfine or fine marker is that I had lost my Sharpie pen. So I was using my Faber-Castell, which is a great substitute. They're both great journaling pens. So I added that little geotag in gold. That's from Studio Calico. I keep it in with my wood veneers, but it's just from Studio Calico. Now I have this photo. As you can see, I printed it in 2 different sizes, but I'm erring on the side of it being a 4x6 because that's where I put it on my page. It seems to be working out well there. So this is 2 stories in one. So it's talking about the fact that we have a new microwave, but also that Sophie is using her avocado heating pad a lot because she's in a lot of pain. And also it's kind of interesting that the instructions for this heating pad, it's like a magic bag, but it instructs you to heat it for a longer period of time on high, but with a cup of water. And it actually comes out nice and steamy, so it's really moisturized. So it's not a dry heating pad; it's a bit of a hot moisture heating pad. My journaling here, which I just used on a couple of tags that you saw me kind of layer and cut apart there. Our new microwave heats up Sophie's heating pad in a wink, and then the next sticker says add a cup of water for moisture. And I added a little strip there. I'm just using label stickers and stuff from my stash here. And there's an avocado in these word stickers from Allie Edwards. There's an avocado somewhere that I haven't seen yet. Whenever I notice it, I'll put it on that other layout. But for now, I'm going to do this one. So this card is going to say snack time, and I use snack from those Allie Edwards word stickers, and then time is going to be spelled out in these sassafras letter stickers that I adore so much on my project Life. It's almost the same font, but snack has a white outline around it, and time is going to have a black outline around it. I could have put a white outline, but I like the contrast. So I just used my little marker to do that. And now I will adhere that photo and the title to this grid paper. And I'm going to put some of these pip stickers around. I got this one that's all about PB&J sandwiches, and there's some banana in there too, and honey. And so I'm putting a loaf of Wonder Bread and the peanut butter, and I have another sandwich sticker that I want to use, but I just don't know where to put it yet. So I'll start my journaling and see where that goes, and then I'll decide where to put the other sticker. My journaling says Sophie has been fatigued with what we think is mono. We hadn't had the test results back at that point. With what we think is mono. Wait a second. I lost my place. She was insisting on making her own snack, so I insisted she do so in a chair. She said just spreading the PB tired her out. I was running out of room, so I just put PB instead of peanut butter. Yeah, we were thinking, yeah, this is definitely mono, but the doctor had to run some tests because it wasn't presenting typically, and her numbers were concerning the doctor. So we had like 4 trips to the hospital in 1 week. It was not fun because the children's hospital here is the place that does the blood work. Like, we couldn't bring her to a regular clinic. We had to bring her to the hospital every time she needed blood work done. Thank goodness we don't pay out of pocket for that. So I'm just looking for something to decorate this waffle photo. This is a waffle that Liv made with the waffle maker that her boyfriend gave her for Christmas. I have these little wood veneers from Ellie Edwards that I had in a little packet. I don't know where they came from, but oh, it was from my morning Ellie Edwards kit. So yeah, I've kitted up these Ellie Edwards story kits, and so I have a stamp set here. I have some embellishments and some cards, and where it was morning, I thought I'd pull out something, and I ended up just going with the wood veneer and not really anything else. I'm going to draw some journaling lines, and I'm actually using the round journaling lines because I like how they stack, and it allows me to have my journaling kind of mimic the line in the photo. So Liv made this waffle using her heart-shaped waffle maker that her boyfriend gave her for Christmas, and it's really cute. And she added blueberries to them, and they were delicious. I had some of her leftovers. So that wood veneer says good morning, and I really like the font. There was too much glue on it, so I just dabbed it with a leftover napkin, and now I'll just crumple it up and put it in the garbage. Now, I'll be honest, this is not my favorite card. I don't like, it's my design, so I have only myself to blame. But I need to find something different for this. These are what they are photos of the 2 awards that my daughter won from last year. They didn't have their end of the year gathering thing because of COVID. So they gave them these awards recently, but they're awards that she won for last year's performance. So they are for highest mark in biology, and also for principal's list for having an average of 90 and above. So as you can see, I'm just playing around with a bunch of different options here. I end up going with this one, which is another card that I had printed up that I made myself. And yeah, that's okay. And then I thought what I might do is use these swatches of color for my journaling, but not on the card. I'm just going to use the swatches of color, and then I'm going to cut them out like journaling strips. I'm going to overlap them with each other. We have the actual certificates, so it's okay that I'm covering up part of it. These journaling pieces say Liv works hard on, and that's on the pink swatch. The next one says schoolwork. The next one says it's wonderful that she earned these 2 awards. And then I'll just cut them up. Just using my scissors here. Sometimes I'll use my trimmer to trim down journaling pieces, but here I'm just using my scissors. I'm not sure why, but it doesn't really matter. And these colors are very, very faint versions of colors that show up in that pattern, so I like how this looks. But they are kind of getting lost in the pattern, so I'm thinking as I do this about what am I going to do to make these stand out a little bit more. I'm going to have to outline them. But I'm not going to outline them my normal way because I think that that's just going to add more busyness. It's going to be all these rectangular lines there that don't work. So what I decided to do is to use a thicker, this is actually a brush pen, and it is a medium gray that I'm using here, and I'm basically just making a shadow out of this medium gray pen. And I'm not doing like a 3D shadow, so it's not like a drop shadow where the shadow is only on like two sides of it, which would be the realistic placement of a shadow. I'm just like going around all of it. Although I am going a little bit heavier on the bottom part just to make it semi-realistic, but as you can see, it's mostly just outlined, but it does look a little bit like a shadow. I really like how the letters to the word remember show up on the side of this card, and so I had to trim down my photo a little bit just to be able to see that word there. I keep trimming it a little bit more and a little bit more. I trimmed it wrong, and now, I want to use my trimmer, but I've already cut it, so it's not, and it's got adhesive on it, and I don't want it to stick to my trimmer. So I just basically glued it to something else as a little handle, and so that I could use the trimmer to get a really great straight edge. And then I pulled it off of that other piece of paper and put it on the remember card where I wanted it to be. This is a 3x4 inch photo, so this is one of those vertical photos that I just wanted to stick in a pocket, so it doesn't need a background on it. But I want to add something. I want to do a little bit of journaling. I'm picking out these pieces of chipboard from the Stories by the Month kit, probably the February kit. And I'm going to do a little bit of journaling here. It says good spirits, in good spirits. I'm going to cut that up and put it on this heart, but no, I'm not liking how that's, I just don't like it. It's like the lines are going diagonal. There's already a weird line because the heart itself is at a different angle than those lines. And then if I'm introducing even more lines with these little journaling strips, it's like, I don't like it. So I will instead layer labeled here. And my journaling here says, in good spirits at the ER. We spent a whole Friday night there getting, that's when we kind of like got the bad stuff ruled out. So after that day, we felt okay about how she was doing. They ran a whole bunch of tests and said, yes, she's going to be okay. It must be just mono. So that was good. It was worth the time. Oops, I had to refill. Oops, double oops, because I picked the wrong refill. I almost refilled it with temporary adhesive. I want to use my permanent here. This is Tombow Mono Tape Runner, which I buy in bulk. I buy 24 of them at a time, and when I get down to about 6, I reorder. I order them from, I think Penwa is where I order them from, which is a funny place to order them from because I order my other tape refills from Tape Depot, but I think that Penwa has better shipping for Canada. So I just, I really like this picture of this lady. I just really like it, but I'm not, my journaling here actually doesn't go with the photo. It says, civilians take up arms to protect their country. This is not a civilian, but I like this pic. Yeah, I didn't add this is not that second part yet because I didn't realize I'm kind of like not thinking about what I'm doing here and not realizing that that photo doesn't actually go with the journaling. So then I just made this other card to be on the flip side of that flippity flap. It says it's hard because it's hard. Underneath of that it says one day at a time. And I just put a screen capture there of a little poem that I find kind of inspiring. It's by Mary Andrew. And yeah, I'm not sure if it shows up in the photos at the end if you want to take a look at it. It's really, really tiny and it's kind of long, so I'm not going to read it to you right here, but it's a good one. So I'm going to then put that other Twitter photo screen capture thing underneath on just a plain card. Now I'm moving on to this photo in the bottom corner of my daughter all curled up on the couch. It's a bit of an atmospheric photo. It's not like the most flattering photo of my living room, but it's very realistic. That's what our living room usually looks like. It's a little cluttered, and the blinds are drawn, and she's snuggled up there. So I added a couple of, well, at this point I only added one of those chipboard hearts. It says a time for rest and quiet. I'll add another one there in a few minutes. So if you're interested in what marker I used, it was the Faber-Castell Artist Pitt Pen with the brush tip, and it's called Warm Gray 4, 273. If you're looking for that one. I bought it in a package of grays. They're all brush tips and they're all different shades of cool and warm gray. So it's another day now. I think it's the next day. And I'm realizing that I didn't really document that one properly. It makes it sound like that's a civilian there, but she's not. So I'm going to pull that out and add that extra sentence, which says, this is not a civilian, but I like this pic. So at first I thought I would do some journaling strips to add these phrases, and then I realized I actually really like the idea of doing that as journaling strips, but then I don't have a place to put them that doesn't cover up something on the other one, and I wanted that other photo to be visible. I thought about putting the journaling strips like they would overhang, and then that might kind of look cool on a flip, right? But then I just said, no, I'm not going to do that. So I just wrote it underneath of the caption and added some underlining, and there we go. Now we're done. So we'll slip that back in. And now I'm just thinking about, okay, so it feels like we're done. What more embellishing needs to happen here? So I am going to put Enjoy February right on my loaf of bread photo right there. And I'm going to put another little heart right here. This is again more from the same chipboard package that came with the Stories by the Month kit for whatever month that was. I don't know if it was this month. It might not have been. Yeah, it looks like it is the February ones. Oh no, they're not. The hearts are from a different February. Then I have this card, which is basically just a Valentine that my niece gave me, and it has her handwriting and she's learning cursive, so that's why I made it that way, so that both of her samples of handwriting are on it, even though one is upside down, because the card's supposed to be folded. So thanks so much for watching. That's how this one came together, and a special shout out to these folks who help support me. It's people like Jan and Natalie and Shay and Karina who help to make these videos possible. Their support over on Patreon allows me to dedicate some time to making these videos in my busy life, because I do have a business that I run and a family and all that good stuff. So thank you so much for watching. You guys watching all the way to the end like this also really, really helps my channel. So feel free to leave me a comment if you have anything to say about this page and how it came together. Take care and have a really great scrappy week. I'll be back with another scrapbooking process video. Both 12 by 12 and pocket pages are coming up on my channel in the coming weeks. So take care and have a really great scrappy week.